I'm David, a 58-year-old retired construction worker from Denver. After 29 years of marriage to Grace and raising our daughter Sophia, who's now 27, I thought I understood my family. But when Sophia, who moved across the country 5 years ago after our falling out, sent an unexpected Father's Day package, everything changed. When the box arrived, Grace's reaction confused me. She examined it carefully and said urgently, "Don't open it. Can't you see?" I had no idea what she meant or how that package would change everything. Before I tell you what happened next, let me know where you're watching from and hit that like button if you've ever had family drama on a holiday. I met Grace during our sophomore year at the University of Colorado. She was studying education while I was focused on engineering, though I eventually dropped out to start working construction. Something just clicked between us from our first conversation at a mutual friend's barbecue. 3 years later, we were married and settling into a modest home in the suburbs of Denver. When Sophia was born in 1998, I felt like my life had finally found its true purpose. She was this tiny, perfect human with Grace's gentle eyes and my stubborn chin. I promised myself I'd give her everything I never had growing up: stability, opportunities, and unconditional support. The early years were beautiful. Sophia was an active, curious child who loved exploring and creating art. Even as a toddler, she was constantly scribbling with crayons or building elaborate structures with blocks. Grace and I would marvel at her imagination and energy. "She's going to be something special," Grace would say, and I'd nod in agreement, my chest swelling with pride. But as Sophia grew, I found myself increasingly caught up in my construction business. I had started as a laborer, but worked my way up to foreman and eventually started my own small company. The hours were long, and the work was physically demanding, but I was determined to provide the best life possible for my family. Looking back now, I can see how I gradually became more physically and emotionally absent. I missed dance recitals, parent-teacher conferences, and family dinners because I was always working on just one more project. Grace took on the role of primary parent, while I became the weekend dad, who tried to cram in quality time between job sites. "Daddy's working hard for us," Grace would explain to Sophia when I called to say I wouldn't make it home for dinner again. In those moments, I could hear the disappointment in my daughter's voice when she'd respond with a quiet, "Okay." I told myself it was necessary, that the sacrifice was worth it. But now I understand the true cost of those missed moments. As Sophia entered her teenage years, the distance between us grew. My parenting style was strict and traditional. I believed in clear rules, consequences, and preparing for practical futures. Grace was more nurturing and supportive of Sophia's creative pursuits. These differences created tension, not just between Sophia and me, but also in my marriage. When Sophia was 16, she announced she wanted to pursue photography as a career. I scoffed at the idea. "Photography is a hobby, not a career," I told her over dinner one night. "You need something stable, something that will actually pay the bills." Her face fell, and Grace shot me a warning look across the table. "David," Grace cautioned, "Sophia is incredibly talented. You've seen her work." "I've seen plenty of talented people living paycheck to paycheck," I countered. "I'm thinking about her future." Sophia pushed her plate away. "You're thinking about the future you want for me, not the one I want for myself." That exchange set the pattern for the next few years. Every conversation about college or careers would devolve into arguments. Sophia grew more distant, spending less time at home and more time with friends or at school working on photography projects. When she was accepted to a prestigious art school in New York instead of the local state university, I had envisioned another major fight erupted. "Do you have any idea how expensive that school is?" I demanded. "And for what? A degree in taking pictures. It's one of the best programs in the country," Sophia shouted back, tears in her eyes. Why can't you just be happy for me? Grace tried to mediate. David, this is an amazing opportunity for her. An amazing opportunity to rack up debt, I retorted. I'm not paying for this, Sophia. If this is your choice, you're on your own. I stormed out of the house that night, taking a long drive to cool down. When I returned, Grace was waiting up for me. You're pushing her away, she said quietly. Is that really what you want? I didn't answer, my pride preventing me from admitting I might be wrong. Sophia attended the art school despite my objections. Grace, I later discovered, had been helping her financially behind my back, which caused another rift in our marriage when I found out. Our visits to see Sophia in New York were tense and awkward. I criticized her tiny apartment, the apparent waste of money, and what I perceived as an unrealistic lifestyle. The final breaking point came during Thanksgiving 5 years ago. Sophia had graduated and was trying to establish herself as a professional photographer in New York. She came home for the holiday, and within hours, we were arguing again. I made a dismissive comment about her still playing with cameras, and she exploded. I'm not playing at anything, she shouted. I've had work published in 3 magazines this year. I'm shooting a major exhibition next month. But you can't see any of that because you've already decided I'm a failure. I never said you were a failure, I protested. I just want you to be realistic. No, you want me to be you, Sophia said, her voice suddenly quiet and cold. And I'm not going to do that anymore. She packed her bags and left that night, despite Grace's tearful pleas to stay. Since then, our contact had been minimal, occasional phone calls on birthdays or Christmas brief text messages, but no visits. Sophia didn't come home for holidays anymore, and I was too stubborn to visit her in New York. 5 years of growing estrangement had taken their toll on all of us. Grace and I had grown apart, too. She never forgave me for driving our daughter away, though she never said it in so many words. I could see it in her eyes, though. The accusation, the regret, the what-ifs. Father's Day this year started like any other Sunday. I woke up around 7, made a pot of coffee, and settled in my recliner with the morning paper. Grace was already up puttering around the kitchen. I could smell bacon frying and knew she was making my favorite breakfast, her way of trying to make the day special despite the elephant in the room, another Father's Day without Sophia. Breakfast is ready, Grace called from the kitchen. I folded the newspaper and joined her at the table. She'd made a full spread: bacon, eggs, pancakes, and fresh orange juice. Too much food for just the 2 of us, really. I wondered if she still cooked for 3 out of habit. This looks great, I said, trying to sound appreciative. But we both knew what was missing. Who was missing? I thought we could drive up to the mountains later, Grace suggested as she poured coffee. It's supposed to be a beautiful day. I nodded, pushing the eggs around on my plate. Sounds good. We ate in silence for a while, the clink of forks against plates, the only sound in the kitchen. I found myself remembering previous Father's Days, Sophia presenting me with handmade cards and crafts when she was little, her excited face as I opened her gifts. As she grew older, the gifts became more sophisticated. A custom toolbox for my workshop, a leather wallet with my initials. The last Father's Day before our estrangement, she'd given me a beautiful framed photograph she'd taken of the Colorado mountains at sunrise. It still hung in my office, though I rarely acknowledged it anymore. The doorbell rang, interrupting my thoughts. Grace and I exchanged curious glances. We weren't expecting anyone. I'll get it, I said, pushing back from the table. When I opened the door, there was no one there, just a medium-sized package sitting on the welcome mat. I bent down to pick it up, my knees cracking in protest. The return address caught my eye immediately, and my heart skipped a beat. Sophia Williams, followed by her New York address. I stared at the package in disbelief, turning it over in my hands, as if to confirm it was real. My daughter had sent me something for Father's Day. After 5 years of minimal contact, this felt significant. "Grace," I called, my voice unsteady with excitement. "Grace, come here." She appeared in the hallway, wiping her hands on a dish towel. "What is it?" "It's from Sophia," I said, holding up the package. "She sent something for Father's Day." Grace's face lit up momentarily, then shifted into an expression I couldn't quite read as she approached. "Let me see that." I handed her the box, watching as she examined it carefully. She turned it over in her hands much as I had done, but with a more critical eye. Her brow furrowed, and she brought the package closer to her face, sniffing at it slightly. "David," she said, her voice suddenly tense, "don't open it." I stared at her in confusion. "What do you mean it's from Sophia?" "Don't open it," she repeated more urgently this time. "Can't you see?" "See what?" I asked, frustration rising in my voice. This was the first gesture from our daughter in years, and Grace was acting strange about it. "Look at the tape," she said, pointing to the seams of the box. "It's been reopened and resealed, and the postmark is from 3 days ago, but the shipping label says it was sent yesterday. Plus, there's a strange smell." I took the package back and examined it more closely. Now that Grace had pointed it out, I could see what she meant. The tape did look like it had been applied over previous tape. There were slight tears in the cardboard at the edges, and when I brought it to my nose, there was a faint chemical smell that didn't seem right. A knot formed in my stomach. What was going on? "Maybe we should call Sophia," I suggested, setting the package down carefully on the entryway table. "Yes," Grace agreed, already reaching for her phone. "I'll try her." Grace dialed Sophia's number while I stared at the package, my earlier excitement replaced by a growing sense of unease. What had initially seemed like an olive branch, a chance at reconciliation, now felt ominous. Grace lowered her phone with a sigh. Voicemail. "Let's try again in a bit," I said. "In the meantime, maybe we should set this aside until we can talk to her." We moved to the living room, leaving the package on the entryway table, but it was like there was a third presence in the house with us. Neither of us could focus on anything else. "What do you think it means?" Grace asked, after we'd been sitting in silence for several minutes. "I don't know," I admitted, "but something doesn't feel right." We tried calling Sophia again, but still no answer. My mind began spinning with possibilities, none of them good. Had someone intercepted Sophia's package? Was she in some kind of trouble? Or was I overreacting to what might simply be a poorly packaged gift? Should we open it anyway? I wondered aloud. Grace shook her head firmly. "No, David. Something's wrong. I can feel it." And deep down, I could feel it too. As we sat staring at the mysterious package, my mind wandered back to the argument that had driven Sophia away. It had started like so many others, with my criticism of her career choice, but this time it had escalated beyond repair. "Photography is not a stable career," I had insisted during that fateful Thanksgiving dinner. "You're living in one of the most expensive cities in the world, barely making ends meet. Is this really what you want for your life?" Sophia had looked me directly in the eyes, her voice steady despite her obvious anger. "What I want is for my father to support me, to believe in me. But that's never going to happen, is it? I do support you," I had protested. "I just want you to be realistic." "No," she'd said, pushing away from the table. "You support the idea of me that you've created in your head, the daughter who follows your plan, who makes the practical choice. But that's not me, Dad. It never was." Grace had tried to intervene. "David, please. It's Thanksgiving." But I couldn't stop myself. "So what's your big plan then? Take pictures of birds and buildings and hope someone notices? How long before you admit this was a mistake and come back to reality?" That's when Sophia had stood up, tears streaming down her face. "I'm done trying to earn your approval. I'm done pretending it doesn't hurt when you dismiss everything I care about. I'm just Done. She had packed her bags that night and left for the airport, catching the first flight back to New York. Grace had been furious with me. "Are you happy now?" she'd demanded after Sophia left. Was it worth it being right? Because congratulations, David, you've just lost your daughter. I hadn't replied, too stubborn to admit I might have gone too far. In the days that followed, I had expected Sophia to call to apologize for overreacting, but the call never came, and I was too proud to make the first move. Days turned into weeks, weeks into months, and eventually years. Our communication became limited to brief formal exchanges on holidays and birthdays. Grace maintained a better relationship with Sophia, talking to her at least once a month. But I knew she kept the details of those conversations from me to avoid more arguments. After Sophia left, Grace had secretly continued to provide financial support until our daughter found her footing in New York. When I discovered the money transfers in our bank statements, another major fight erupted between us. "How could you go behind my back like this?" I had demanded. "How could I not help our daughter?" Grace had shot back. "Someone in this family needs to be there for her." The accusation had stung, but I refused to acknowledge it. Instead, I retreated further, building walls around my hurt and disappointment. Over the years, I would occasionally see glimpses of Sophia's life through social media, or when Grace would casually mention something from their conversations. I learned that she had started gaining recognition for her work, exhibiting in small galleries around New York. Part of me felt a grudging pride, but I could never bring myself to express it. Last year, I had a health scare, a minor heart attack that served as a wake-up call. As I lay in the hospital bed, connected to monitors and IV lines, I had thought about all the time I'd wasted, all the moments I'd missed with my family, due to work or stubborn pride. I had promised myself I would try to reconnect with Sophia once I recovered. But old habits die hard, and once I was back home and feeling better, I found excuses to delay reaching out. What would I say after all this time? Would she even want to hear from me? The fear of rejection kept me from picking up the phone. Now, staring at this mysterious package that bore her name, I felt a complex mix of emotions. Hope that this might be a chance to mend fences, fear about what the package might contain, and guilt over the years of estrangement that I had allowed my pride to create. I should have called her after the heart attack, I admitted to Grace, breaking the silence that had settled between us. I kept meaning to, but "I know," Grace said softly. She reached over and took my hand. "She asked about you, you know, when I told her you were in the hospital. She wanted to come, but she wasn't sure if you'd want to see her." The revelation hit me like a physical blow. My daughter had wanted to come to me when I was ill, and I had never known, because I had built walls so high neither of us could see over them anymore. "I've been a fool," I whispered, dear eyes fixed on the package that now seemed to represent all my failures as a father. "We both made mistakes," Grace said, squeezing my hand. "But it's never too late to try again." I nodded, feeling a renewed determination to reach Sophia to rebuild what I had broken. But first, we needed to figure out what was going on with this strange package. "Let's try calling her one more time," I suggested. "And if she doesn't answer, maybe we should be more cautious about this box." Grace nodded in agreement, and I picked up my phone, hoping that this time my daughter would answer. After several more failed attempts to reach Sophia, our concern grew. The package sat on the table like a ticking time bomb, its presence impossible to ignore. "I think we should examine it more carefully," I finally said, "but not open it yet." Grace nodded in agreement. "Let's take it to the kitchen where the light is better." I carried the box carefully, as if it might explode at any moment. Setting it on the kitchen counter, I began a more thorough examination. The package was roughly the size of a shoebox, wrapped in brown shipping paper. The address was printed, not handwritten, which seemed impersonal for a Father's Day gift. "Feel this," I said to Grace, lifting the box slightly. The weight shifts like something loose is moving around inside. Grace placed her hands on either side of the box and gently tilted it. You're right, and it's heavier on one side. I examined the postmark more closely. It was smudged, but I could make out a date from 3 days earlier. Yet the shipping label clearly showed yesterday's date. That doesn't make sense, I murmured. How could it be postmarked before the shipping label was created, unless someone else intercepted it and repackaged it? Grace suggested, her face pale with worry. The more we examined the package, the more suspicious details we noticed. There were small punctures in the bottom corner that looked like someone had poked something inside. The tape wasn't the standard clear shipping tape, but had a slight yellowish tint. I think we should call the post office, Grace suggested. Maybe they can tell us if this is normal or not. I agreed and made the call. After explaining the situation to a postal worker, they advised us to contact the non-emergency police line if we were concerned about the package's safety. Do you really think that's necessary? I asked Grace after hanging up. She looked at me with worried eyes. I don't know, David, but something is definitely wrong here. Better safe than sorry, right? Reluctantly, I called the non-emergency line and explained our situation. To my surprise, they took it quite seriously and said they would send an officer to take a look. Officer Peterson arrived about 30 minutes later. He was a middle-aged man with a calm, professional demeanor that immediately put us at ease. So you received this package today, and you're concerned because of some irregularities, he asked, examining the box without touching it. We explained our observations and our failed attempts to contact our daughter. Officer Peterson listened carefully, then donned a pair of latex gloves from his pocket before picking up the package. I understand this is from your daughter, he said gently. But given the circumstances, I think we should treat this with caution, especially since you haven't been able to confirm with her that she sent it. What are you suggesting? I asked, my throat tight with anxiety. I'd like to take this outside, maybe to your garage, if that's okay, Officer Peterson replied, just to be on the safe side while we examine it further. The suggestion that our daughter's package might be dangerous felt surreal, but I nodded in agreement. We led Officer Peterson to the garage, where he placed the box on my workbench. Using a flashlight from his belt, the officer examined the seals and packaging more thoroughly. These small punctures concern me, he said, pointing to the holes we had noticed earlier, and there's definitely something unusual about how this was sealed. Grace clutched my arm, her fingers digging into my skin. Do you think it could be something dangerous? She whispered. Officer Peterson straightened up and looked at us seriously. I can't say for certain, but given the irregularities and your inability to contact your daughter to confirm she sent this, I think we should take precautions. I'd like to call this in and have our specialists take a look. Specialists. I repeated the word, hanging ominously in the air. We have a team that handles suspicious packages, he explained. It's probably nothing, but I'd rather be cautious. It's from our daughter, I protested, suddenly feeling defensive. The idea that a gift from Sophia might be treated as a potential threat seemed absurd despite our own earlier concerns. I understand, sir, Officer Peterson said calmly, and it's probably perfectly fine. But if there's any chance someone intercepted or tampered with your daughter's package, we need to be careful. As the reality of the situation sank in, I felt a wave of emotion wash over me. What if Sophia was in some kind of trouble? What if someone was using her to get to us? The years of estrangement suddenly seemed trivial compared to the fear that she might be in danger. Officer Peterson stepped outside to call for backup, leaving Grace and me alone with our thoughts and the mysterious box. David, Grace said, her voice trembling, I'm scared. What if something's happened to her? I pulled her into an embrace, feeling my own hands shaking. We'll figure this out. I promised, though I had no idea how to keep that promise. In that moment, I realized just how much I still loved my stubborn, independent daughter, and how desperately I wanted the chance to tell her that, before it was too late. While we waited for the specialists to arrive, I stepped outside for some air, feeling overwhelmed by the situation. The sunny Father's Day morning had transformed into a nightmare of uncertainty and fear. Standing in our backyard, I looked at the garden Sophia had helped plant when she was a child. The rose bushes she'd insisted on were in full bloom, their vibrant colors a stark contrast to the darkness I felt inside. I pulled out my phone and tried calling Sophia again, my heart racing with each unanswered ring. When her voicemail picked up, I didn't hang up this time. "Sophia, it's Dad," I said, my voice cracking slightly. "We received a package from you today, but there's something strange about it. We're worried. Please call us back as soon as you get this. And Sophia, I miss you. I'm sorry for everything. Please be okay." I hung up, wiping away tears I hadn't realized were falling. The fear that something might have happened to my daughter was overwhelming, making me confront just how much time I'd wasted being stubborn and prideful. Back inside, Grace was on her laptop, a look of intense concentration on her face. "What are you doing?" I asked, sitting beside her at the kitchen table. "Looking at Sophia's social media," she replied. "I thought it might give us some clues." I leaned in to look at the screen. Sophia's Instagram page was full of stunning photographs. Urban landscapes, portraits, artistic compositions. I felt a pang of regret, seeing her talent so clearly displayed, knowing I had dismissed it for years. "When was her last post?" I asked. Grace scrolled up to the top of the page. 3 days ago. She posted about a gallery exhibition opening. 3 days, I repeated. That's when the package was postmarked. We continued scrolling through her recent posts, looking for anything unusual. About a month back, Sophia had posted about her apartment being broken into. Nothing valuable was taken, she'd written, just some camera equipment moved around and a drawer left open. She'd dismissed it as probably kids from the neighborhood. "Did you know about this?" I asked Grace. She shook her head. She never mentioned it when we talked. As we dug deeper, we noticed something else concerning. In several recent photos, the same username appeared in the comments with vague but unsettling messages. "Great perspective. I've been seeing things from a different angle too. I see you've been around the warehouse district again. Such interesting shadows there. Your lens captures so much. Wonder what else it's seen." "These don't sound right," Grace murmured, pointing to the comments. "No," I agreed, a chill running down my spine. "They sound like someone's watching her." Just then, my phone rang. It was a New York area code, but not Sophia's number. I answered immediately. "Hello. Is this David Williams?" a female voice asked. "Yes, who's this?" "My name is Allison Carter. I'm a friend of Sophia's from the gallery. She told me to call this number if I didn't hear from her for more than 2 days. My heart sank. "You haven't heard from her?" "No," Allison replied, her voice tight with concern. "The last time we spoke was after the exhibition closing on Thursday. She mentioned she was planning to surprise you for Father's Day, but needed to take care of something first. She seemed nervous about something but wouldn't tell me what." "Did she say anything else?" I pressed, putting the call on speaker so Grace could hear. "Just that she'd been feeling like someone was following her lately. I told her she should go to the police, but she said she needed more evidence first. Something about photographs she'd taken accidentally." Grace and I exchanged alarmed glances. "Allison, did Sophia mention sending us a package?" Grace asked. "Yes, she was preparing something to send you. Said it was important evidence that would explain everything. Has it arrived?" I felt like I'd been punched in the stomach. "It came today, but there's something wrong with it. It looks like it might have been tampered with." Allison was quiet for a moment. "Mr. Williams, I'm really worried about her. This isn't like Sophia at all. She's usually so reliable. We're worried too, I admitted. We've got the police here now. After getting Allison's contact information and promising to update her, I hung up just as Officer Peterson returned to the garage with news that the specialist team was on their way. "Officer," I said urgently, "we just learned that our daughter might be in danger. A friend of hers called and said Sophia was feeling like someone was following her and that she was sending us important evidence. We need to find her." Officer Peterson's expression turned grave. "That changes things. Let me call this in right away." As he stepped away to make the call, I turned to Grace. "I need to go to New York," I said firmly. "I need to find her." For the first time in years, Grace looked at me with something like approval. "I'm coming with you. The specialist team will be here in about 20 minutes, Officer Peterson informed us when he returned. "And I've notified our department about your daughter's possible situation. They'll coordinate with NYPD to do a wellness check at her apartment." "Thank you," I said, "but we're not waiting. We're going to New York tonight." Officer Peterson nodded understandingly. "I can't stop you, but please stay in touch with us. And be careful. If someone is targeting your daughter, they might be dangerous." As Grace and I went inside to pack and book flights, I felt a desperate determination taking hold. 5 years of estrangement arguments and stubborn silence suddenly seemed like the most foolish waste of precious time. All that mattered now was finding Sophia and making sure she was safe. "I should have been there for her all along," I said to Grace as we hurriedly packed overnight bags. "We both should have tried harder," Grace replied, "but we're going to make it right now." The next few hours passed in a blur. The police specialists arrived and began their careful examination of the package in our garage while we finished packing. We managed to book seats on an evening flight to New York, leaving in just a few hours. As we prepared to leave for the airport, Officer Peterson approached us with news. "Mr. and Mrs. Williams, you should know that NYPD just conducted a check at your daughter's apartment. She wasn't there, but there were no signs of struggle or forced entry. It appears she may have left voluntarily." "That's something at least," Grace said, though her worry was still evident. "We'll keep you updated on the package," Officer Peterson promised, "and please let us know when you find your daughter." As we drove to the airport, I couldn't help but reflect on how quickly priorities can shift. This morning I had been a bitter old man, nursing grievances against my daughter. Now, I would give anything just to know she was safe. "We'll find her," Grace said, reaching over to squeeze my hand. I nodded, hoping with all my heart that she was right. We arrived in New York shortly after midnight, exhausted, but too worried about Sophia to think about rest. We took a taxi directly to her apartment in Brooklyn, even though we knew from the police that she wasn't there. We needed to start somewhere, and her home seemed the logical place. The building was an old converted warehouse with a security door at the entrance. Fortunately, one of her neighbors was returning home just as we arrived, and let us in when we explained we were Sophia's parents. "Have you seen her recently?" I asked the young man, as he held the door for us. "Sophia, yeah, she left a couple days ago with a backpack. Seemed in a hurry." He frowned. "Is everything okay?" "We're not sure," Grace admitted. "If you see her, please tell her to call us right away." We made our way to Sophia's third-floor apartment. Using the spare key she had given Grace years ago for emergencies, we let ourselves in, flipping on lights as we entered. The apartment was small but stylish, with large windows and exposed brick walls covered in photographs and art prints. It felt distinctly like Sophia, creative, thoughtful, and a little unconventional. There were no signs of struggle or violence, which was a relief, but there were indications of a hasty departure. Drawers partially open, a mug of moldy coffee on the counter, mail piled unopened on the table. "She left in a hurry," Grace observed, looking around with concern. I nodded, moving deeper into the apartment. On a desk near the window, Sophia's computer was still set up, though the laptop itself was gone. A bulletin board above the desk was covered with photographs, post-it notes, and what looked like a map of the city with certain areas circled in red. "Grace, look at this," I called, examining the board more closely. The photographs pinned to the board were unlike Sophia's usual artistic work. These were more like surveillance shots, images of abandoned buildings loading docks, and what appeared to be people engaged in some kind of exchange. Several of the photos had dates and times written in the corners. What was she documenting? Grace wondered, standing beside me. I don't know, but she clearly thought it was important. I pointed to a note scribbled in Sophia's handwriting. "Third time, same truck, different plates. Need better angle." We continued searching the apartment, finding little else of immediate value. I checked the closet and noted that several pieces of clothing were missing, along with what appeared to be a gap where a suitcase would normally be stored. "She packed for several days," I observed. Grace was examining Sophia's mail. "David, look at this," she said, holding up an envelope. "It's from the gallery where her exhibition was held." Inside was a check for a substantial amount and a note congratulating Sophia on her successful show. All 7 of her featured photographs had sold. "She was doing well," I said softly, a mixture of pride and regret washing over me. "Really well." "Yes, she was," Grace agreed, touching my arm gently. "David, we need to go to this gallery tomorrow. Maybe they know something more about what's going on." We spent an uncomfortable night in Sophia's apartment, taking turns trying to sleep on her small couch while the other kept watch. Neither of us said it aloud, but I knew we were both afraid that if we left, we might miss Sophia if she returned. At 7 the next morning, I received a call from Officer Peterson back in Denver. "Mr. Williams, I wanted to update you on the package situation," he said. "Our team opened it safely, and I think you should know what was inside." I put the call on speaker so Grace could hear. What did they find? The package contained damaged camera equipment, a broken lens, and what appears to be parts of a camera body. There were also several torn photographs showing someone watching your daughter's apartment building from a car. And there was a note that read, "Keep quiet about what you saw, or next time it won't be just your camera." Grace gasped, and I felt my blood run cold. "It appears someone intercepted your daughter's original package and replaced the contents with this warning," Officer Peterson continued. "We're treating this as a credible threat. The local police have been notified and are looking for your daughter now." After thanking him for the update, I turned to Grace. "Someone's threatening her. This is worse than we thought. We need to find her right away," Grace said, already gathering her purse. "Let's get to that gallery as soon as it opens." The Madison Avenue Gallery was small but elegant, situated between high-end boutiques in a trendy part of Manhattan. We arrived just as the owner was unlocking the front door at 10 o'clock. "I'm sorry, we're just opening," the woman began. But I cut her off. "We're Sophia Williams' parents," I said urgently. "We need to talk to you about her." The woman's expression shifted from polite customer service to genuine concern. "Sophia, come in, please. I'm Julia Barnes, the gallery owner. Is everything all right?" Once inside, we explained the situation, the threatening package, Sophia's disappearance, and our growing fear for her safety. Julia listened with increasing alarm. "This is very disturbing," she said when we finished. "Sophia mentioned feeling uneasy lately, but I had no idea it was this serious." "Do you have any idea where she might have gone?" Grace asked. "Or what she might have been working on that could have gotten her into trouble?" Julia hesitated, then nodded slowly. "About 2 months ago, Sophia started a new project documenting urban decay in industrial areas of the city. She was particularly interested in abandoned warehouses and factories. She had this theory about how these forgotten spaces were being reclaimed in unexpected ways." "What kind of ways?" I pressed. "That's just it. She became very secretive about it. She told me she'd discovered something bigger than expected and needed to gather more evidence before going public. I assumed it was just artistic enthusiasm. But now, Julia trailed off, looking worried. Do you know where she was taking these photographs? Grace asked. Julia moved to a computer behind the reception desk. I might. She sometimes used our computer to download and edit images. Let me check if there's anything in her folder. After a few minutes of searching, Julia found what she was looking for. Here, she said, turning the monitor so we could see. These are location tags from some of her recent uploads. The screen showed a map with several pins dropped in an industrial area of Queens. One location was marked with a star and the note primary site, Thursday nights. Today is Monday, I said, checking my watch. If she's monitoring some kind of illegal activity that happens on Thursdays, she might be laying low until then. But where? Grace wondered aloud. Julia cleared her throat. Sophia mentioned once that she had a backup studio space. A place to go if she ever needed to disappear for a bit, was how she put it. She said it was in an old textile factory that had been converted to artist spaces. Very off the grid, very private. Do you know where this place is? I asked eagerly. Not exactly, but it was somewhere near these locations, Julia said, pointing to the map. She said something about it being hidden in plain sight, and that you had to know someone to get in. It wasn't much to go on, but it was a start. We thanked Julia, who promised to call if Sophia contacted her, and headed out to search the area indicated on the map. The industrial section of Queens was a maze of warehouses, factories, and storage facilities, many abandoned or in various states of disrepair. We spent hours driving up and down streets looking for any sign of recent artistic conversion or activity. By late afternoon, we were exhausted and discouraged. We'd found several artist communities in converted industrial spaces, but no one recognized Sophia's photo or knew of her secret studio. Maybe we should go back to her apartment, Grace suggested, fatigue evident in her voice. She might have returned or left some clue we missed. I nodded, too tired to argue, though I was reluctant to abandon our search. As we turned to head back to the car, I noticed a young man watching us from across the street. When our eyes met, he quickly looked away and started walking in the opposite direction. Wait, I called out, jogging across the street despite my aching knees. Please wait. The man hesitated, then stopped. He looked to be in his early 20s, with multiple piercings and vibrant blue hair. What do you want? We're looking for our daughter, I said, showing him Sophia's photo on my phone. Her name is Sophia Williams. She's a photographer. Recognition flickered in the young man's eyes, quickly replaced by wariness. Don't know her, he said, starting to turn away. Please, Grace said, joining us. She might be in danger. We got a threatening package meant for her. The young man paused again, studying our faces. You're really her parents? Yes, I said desperately. I'm David. This is Grace. Please, if you know anything. After a moment of internal debate, he sighed. All right, I know Sophia. She's got a studio in the Hive. The Hive, Grace repeated. It's what we call the old Thornton Textile Building, he explained. It's a kind of unofficial artist commune. Very underground, very private. People go there when they need to lay low for a while. Can you take us there? I asked. He hesitated again. Look, it's kind of against the rules to bring outsiders in. But, yeah, I'll take you. Sophia's good people. If she's in trouble, she should have her family with her. Relief washed over me, followed by a surge of hope. We were finally getting somewhere. The young man who introduced himself as Tyler led us through a maze of back alleys and loading docks until we reached what appeared to be an abandoned factory building. There was no sign, no indication that anyone used the space. The windows were mostly boarded up, and chains wrapped around the front doors. "It's not actually locked," Tyler explained, leading us to a side entrance partially hidden behind dumpsters. "The chains are for show to keep developers and cops from getting too interested." He knocked on the metal door in a specific pattern, and after a moment, it cracked open. Tyler spoke quietly to whoever was inside, then gestured for us to follow him in. The interior of the building was nothing like its decrepit exterior suggested. While still industrial and rough around the edges, it was clearly a living working space. The vast open floor had been divided into studios and living areas using salvaged materials, shipping containers, and colorful fabric dividers. Artists worked on various projects throughout the space. Music played from several directions, and the smell of paint and incense filled the air. "Sophia's space is at the back," Tyler told us, leading the way through the eclectic community. My heart was pounding as we approached a converted shipping container painted deep blue with silver stars. Tyler knocked on the metal door. "Sophia." "It's Tyler. Your parents are here. They're looking for you." For a moment there was silence, and I feared we'd hit another dead end. Then the door swung open, and there she was, my daughter, looking tired and surprised, but very much alive. "Dad, Mom, how did you find me?" Sophia asked, her eyes wide with disbelief. Before I could answer, I found myself pulling her into a tight embrace, tears streaming down my face. "Thank God you're safe," I managed to say, my voice thick with emotion. For a moment, Sophia stood stiff in my arms, probably shocked by this uncharacteristic display of affection from her usually reserved father. Then slowly her arms came up to return the hug. "What are you doing here?" she asked, as we finally separated, Grace moving in for her own tearful embrace. "We got your package," I explained. "Or rather, we got a package that was supposed to be from you, but it had been tampered with. Someone replaced whatever you sent with broken camera equipment and a threatening note." Sophia's face paled. "They found it. I thought I was being paranoid, but they actually intercepted my mail." "Honey, what's going on?" Grace asked, holding Sophia's hands tightly. "What kind of trouble are you in?" Sophia sighed heavily, then gestured for us to come inside her studio space. It was small but efficiently organized, with a folding bed in one corner, a makeshift dark room in another, and walls covered in photographs. "It started about 2 months ago," she began once we were seated. "I was working on a series about abandoned industrial spaces when I accidentally captured something I wasn't supposed to see." She pointed to several photos pinned to the wall. They showed men unloading crates from trucks in what appeared to be an empty warehouse. At first I thought it was just normal shipping activity, maybe some off-the-books storage. But I kept going back, taking more photos from different angles. That's when I realized they were unloading drugs and weapons. A lot of them. "Did you go to the police?" I asked. Sophia shook her head. "Not immediately. I wanted more evidence first. I started documenting their schedule, the license plates, the people involved. Then someone broke into my apartment about a month ago. Nothing valuable was taken, but some of my memory cards were missing. That's when I realized they might know about me." "Why didn't you tell us?" Grace asked, her voice breaking slightly. "Mom, we barely talk," Sophia said gently. "And Dad?" She looked at me with a mixture of hurt and resignation that broke my heart. "I didn't think you'd care." The words hit me like a physical blow. My daughter had been in danger, and she thought I wouldn't care. What kind of father had I become? "I'm so sorry," I whispered, tears filling my eyes again. "I'm so sorry for everything, Sophia. For not supporting your dreams, for pushing you away, for being too stubborn to reach out. None of that matters now. All that matters is that you're safe." Sophia stared at me for a long moment, perhaps searching for sincerity in my words. Then her expression softened. "I was going to come see you," she said quietly, "for Father's Day. I had collected enough evidence, and was going to mail it to myself at your address as a backup. Then I was going to fly out and explain everything. But when I mailed the package, I noticed someone following me. I've been hiding here ever since, afraid to go back to my apartment or the gallery. The police are looking for you, I told her, both in Denver and here. Your friend Allison called us, and the gallery owner helped us find this place. I should have gone to the authorities sooner, Sophia admitted. I just wanted to make sure I had enough evidence that they'd take me seriously. We need to call them now, Grace said firmly. This is too dangerous for you to handle alone. Sophia nodded in agreement. You're right. It's time. As we prepared to leave the hive and contact the police, I took a moment to really look at the photographs covering Sophia's walls. They weren't just evidence of criminal activity. They were powerful images, technically excellent, and emotionally evocative. My daughter truly was talented, and I had been too blind to see it. Your work is amazing, I said softly. I should have told you that years ago. Sophia looked surprised, then pleased. Thanks, Dad. That means a lot coming from you. It wasn't much, just a small moment of recognition long overdue. But as we left the hidden studio together, I felt like it might be the first step on a new path, one where I could finally be the father my daughter deserved. The next few days were a whirlwind of police interviews, evidence cataloging, and protective custody arrangements. Sophia's photographs proved invaluable to the authorities, who had apparently been tracking the same criminal organization for months without the kind of detailed evidence my daughter had inadvertently gathered. We stayed in a hotel under police protection while the investigation proceeded. During those days of enforced proximity, the three of us began the difficult but necessary process of rebuilding our relationship. I should have handled things differently, I admitted on our second night, as we sat in the hotel room picking at room service dinner. When you wanted to pursue photography, I was so focused on security and stability that I couldn't see how talented you truly are. Sophia looked up from her plate. And I could have tried harder to make you understand why it was so important to me. I just got so frustrated with hitting the same wall over and over. Grace reached out to take both our hands. We all made mistakes. The important thing is that we're here now together, and we have a chance to do better. Working with a family therapist provided by the Victim Services Department, we began to address the years of miscommunication and hurt feelings. It wasn't easy, and there were plenty of tense moments and tears, but we were all committed to the process. I learned that Sophia had indeed built a successful career as a photographer. Her work had been featured in several prestigious galleries and publications. The recent exhibition had been her most successful, yet with all pieces selling for impressive sums. I wanted to tell you about it, she confessed one afternoon as she showed us her portfolio on her laptop. Every time something good happened, I had this instinct to call you Dad. But then I'd remember how dismissive you'd been, and I just couldn't face that again. I was wrong, I said simply. I was so wrong, Sophia. Your work is extraordinary. You've built something meaningful on your own terms, and I'm so proud of you for that. The criminal investigation moved quickly. Based on Sophia's evidence and subsequent police work, authorities conducted raids on several locations, making multiple arrests. The district attorney assured us that Sophia would remain anonymous in any public reports, but she would likely need to testify eventually. Are you scared? I asked her the night after we received this news. Sophia considered the question. A little, but it feels good to know I'm doing the right thing. And honestly, it feels even better not to be facing it alone. She reached out and squeezed my hand, a simple gesture that meant everything to me. After about a week, the immediate danger had passed enough that we could begin making plans for the future. Sophia would need to stay away from her apartment for a while longer, and the authorities suggested it might be best if she left New York temporarily. You could come home with us, Grace suggested hesitantly. just until things settled down. Sophia was quiet for a moment, and I held my breath, afraid she would decline. "I'd like that," she finally said. "It's been too long since I've been home." The word home hung in the air between us, carrying weight and meaning beyond the physical structure in Denver. Home was family. Home was belonging. Home was something we'd all lost, and were now trying to rebuild together. As we prepared to leave New York, I found myself in Sophia's temporary studio at the Hive, helping her pack up her equipment. The walls had been stripped of photographs, most now in police evidence bags, but a few personal ones remained. "This was my favorite from the last series, before all the trouble started," Sophia said, carefully, removing a stunning black and white landscape from the wall. It showed the Denver mountains at dawn, mist clinging to the peaks, the first rays of sunlight breaking through clouds. "It's beautiful," I said, genuinely moved by the image. "You captured something special there." "It was the view from our backyard," Sophia said quietly. "I took it the last time I was home before. Everything. Even when I was angriest with you, I kept this photo to remind me where I came from." I felt tears prick at my eyes again. "I kept the photo you gave me for Father's Day years ago. It's still hanging in my office. I look at it every day." Sophia turned to me, surprise evident on her face. "You do?" I nodded. "Even when I couldn't find the words to tell you, I never stopped loving you, Sophia. I never stopped being proud that you're my daughter. I just got lost in my own stubbornness." She set down the photograph and embraced me, both of us crying now without shame or reservation. "I never stopped loving you either, Dad," she whispered. "That's why it hurts so much." When we returned to Denver the following week, it felt like the beginning of a new chapter rather than a return to the past. Sophia moved into her old bedroom, though we all acknowledged it was temporary. She was an independent adult, with her own life in New York. But for now, she needed the safety and healing that coming home could provide. The criminal case continued to develop with regular updates from both Denver and New York authorities. Sophia participated in virtual interviews and evidence reviews, preparing for eventual testimony. Through it all, Grace and I remained by her side, offering the support we should have provided years earlier. As the weeks passed, our family dynamic evolved. We established new routines and found ways to respect each other's independence while rebuilding our connections. I made a point of asking Sophia about her work, genuinely engaging with her artistic perspective. She, in turn, showed interest in my retirement projects and the community volunteer work I'd recently begun. "You know," Sophia said one evening, as we sat on the back porch watching the sunset over the mountains. "I never thought I'd say this, but I'm almost grateful for that terrible package." "What do you mean?" Grace asked from her seat beside me. "If someone hadn't intercepted what I sent, if you hadn't been so worried that you came looking for me, we might have gone years more without reconciling. Sometimes it takes a crisis to see what really matters." I reached out to take both Grace's and Sophia's hands. I wish it hadn't taken something so dangerous to wake me up. But you're right. Sometimes what looks like a threat can actually be the beginning of healing. That night, as I lay in bed reflecting on all that had happened, I thought about how close I had come to losing my daughter forever. Not to criminals or danger, but to my own stubborn pride. The mysterious Father's Day package that had initially seemed so threatening had ultimately delivered the most precious gift possible, a second chance at being a family. Life is fragile and unpredictable. Relationships can break in an instant, but take years to rebuild. I had wasted too much time holding on to rigid expectations instead of embracing the beautiful, talented, independent woman my daughter had become. But it wasn't too late. We had been given another chance, and I was determined not to waste it. If there's one thing I've learned from all of this, it's that pride is a poor substitute for love. No amount of being right is worth the cost of losing the people who matter most. True strength isn't found in never bending, but in having the courage to admit when you're wrong and the humility to begin again. Our story isn't finished. Healing takes time, and we all have more growing to do. But now we're doing it together, and that makes all the difference. Has your relationship with a loved one ever been saved by an unexpected event or crisis? Share your story in the comments below. And if this story touched your heart, please hit that like button and subscribe to hear more real-life stories of family forgiveness and second chances. Don't forget to share this video with someone who might need a reminder that it's never too late to rebuild what's been broken. Thank you for listening to my journey, and may you find the courage to reach out to anyone you've lost touch with before it's too late.